Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome inside the gymnasium at Milford High School as Milford TV is happy to bring you coverage of Scarlet Hawks athletics. It is time to get the 2019 spring sports season started, and we kick off our spring coverage here in the Milford gym with the boys volleyball team. This is a boys volleyball team for the Milford Scarlet Hawks that made a huge leap forward last season, a young roster without a lot of varsity experience last year. They took their lumps early in the year, back-to-back losses out of the gate, but they made a huge leap forward from there. They ended up winning 14 of their next 15 matches en route to an eventual Western Alliance League title and a trip into the Division I bracket in the MIAA playoffs, the Division I Central bracket in which Milford advanced all the way to the semifinals before they ultimately bowed out against a very tough Natick team that ultimately claimed a Central I title. So Milford now, after gaining all of that experience last season, is now one of the more experienced teams in the entire Central Massachusetts region, returning all but 3 players from that varsity team from last season. So a lot of experience now on this roster, a lot of confidence. And this team looks to do big things in this 2019 spring season. They go up against an opponent here today in the Taunton Tigers, 2 teams that are typically conference foes. Both teams normally part of the Hockomock League, but the Hockomock does not have boys volleyball, so these 2 teams are actually non-conference opponents in the game here today. Milford now a part of the Tri-Valley League after spending the last couple of seasons in the Western Alliance, so now into the TVL for Milford. Taunton still part of the Southern Alliance. And certainly a very dominant season last year for Taunton. They went a perfect 18-0 in the regular season last year, and they made it very deep into the postseason as well. And so this is a team also bringing back a lot of experience and should be a very dangerous team. These are 2 of the top teams, 2 of the top programs in the area, so getting a very primetime matchup right here out of the gates as Milford gets set to take on the Taunton Tigers. An outstanding matchup, 2 great rivals taking the court here today, and very excited to get the spring sports season started with you here on a beautiful day here in Milford. We will get things started in just a few short minutes here. We'll pause for player intros, and we will have the beginning of set number 1 right on the other side of this break. Stay tuned to coverage of Milford High School athletics right here on Milford TV. And welcome back inside the Milford gym. It is time to get this match started. The Milford Scarlet Hawks in their 2019 season debut, taking on the Taunton Tigers. That is the first game of the season for both of these teams. And getting the spring sports season started early, not quite even into the month of April here on March 28th, getting the spring sports season started. The weather has certainly warmed up over the last couple of weeks, which has been good news for the outdoor teams, but here inside the Milford gym, conditions optimal to get the spring season started. And with that, we will see the first serve of 2019 from Josh Orellana, a little too strong on that opening serve. It goes long, and the first point of the match will go to the Tigers. These teams, despite technically not being in the same conference, did meet up twice during the regular season last year. And of course, as we mentioned, Taunton with a perfect regular season record, so it was a couple of losses for Milford. Both of them 3-set sweeps for Taunton, so they were extremely tough on all teams this season. Quite an athletic move by Joao Boaventura as he went deep beyond the end line to try to track that ball down, but ultimately Milford could not save it. And a 2-0 lead out of the gates for the Tigers. Milford losing to Taunton last season in their second game of the year. Milford ended up bookending the season last year with a couple of losses back-to-back. 2 losses in their first 2 games of the season, 2 losses in their last 2 games of the season. But in between that was almost nothing but victories. As we mentioned, 14 wins in 15 matches in the middle of the season for the Scarlet Hawks, and that was plenty to get them a good spot in the playoffs and a league title. After the first point of the match, we now see Zach Brown, one of the captains of this Scarlet Hawks squad, with his first serve of the match. It's flipped back over gently. Now Orellana will set it in the front. And a little trickery up front, but the timing off for Boaventura, and the point will go to the Tigers. As you can imagine, a lot of adrenaline out on the floor with this being the first game of the regular season. But still a lot of experience out on the floor for both of these teams, so you'd imagine those nerves will settle down pretty quickly, and eventually we'll start to see some solid volleyball played on both sides of the floor. A violation up front at the net for the Tigers will give Milford that point, and it narrows the early lead to a 3-2 margin, still in favor of Taunton. And now we will see a second of the 3 captains for the Scarlet Hawks, Tiago Carvalho behind the service line. It is Carvalho, Brown, and also Joao Boaventura serving as the 3 captains. Line drive serve out of Carvalho, trying to hit that far sideline, but just off. And this has been a very quick start to the season, as we mentioned. It's only been maybe 2 weeks that these teams have even been assembled. The official start of the spring sports season, if I have my information correct, was March 18th. So you're really talking more like a week and a half that these teams had to go through tryouts, to get some practicing under their belts, and eventually get ready for the start of this season. So a very fast start for this volleyball team. And Milford getting a little love from the tape on top of the net. That one dropping over on the Taunton side, and this first set now even at 4. Behind the service line right now, number 3, Lucas Caetano. A whole lot of names on this volleyball roster will sound familiar from our coverage from back during the fall sports season. We had a chance to see quite a bit of the Milford boys soccer team as that one takes a ricochet off the net. Taunton able to save it, and eventually they return it back over. We'll come back to that point in a moment. Here's Boaventura with the spike, and he gets the kill. Good power out of Boaventura from the left side. And Milford takes their first lead of the match at 5-4 here in set number 1. Service continues now for Caetano. And to the back line where it's met there by Mateo Hagemeyer for Taunton. Now back to Boaventura on the left, and what a smash across the floor for Boaventura. No chance for the Tigers. And Boaventura responsible for back-to-back kills to pull Milford in front now 6-4. A steady service game from Caetano settling Milford into a groove. Now from the left side for Taunton, that return is long, and it will keep the streak going for the Scarlet Hawks. Couple of bounces now for Caetano. And the ball away, more of a line drive serve this time, set up in the front. And flipped over by Taunton, number 21, Liam Bunker. Now a high drifter, and Boaventura able to smack it over to the other side, and Taunton, nothing they can do about it. Boaventura with excellent height to match up against the front line of the Tigers, was able to outmuscle the Taunton attacker, and eventually that results in another point for Milford. This is their best stretch of the match so far to take now a 4-point lead on Taunton. And now Milford trying to reject that spike from the Taunton side, but just too much on it. And that will finally break up the rhythm for Caetano, but an excellent sequence right there for the Scarlet Hawks. They continue to lead now 8-5. And now the serve wide to the far side for Taunton, and we'll go right back to the Milford service game, and it will be the third captain of this squad, Boaventura. He led the team in kills last season and certainly looks to be primed to do the same again this year. Sends a hard serve towards the left side for Taunton. Now flipped over, and just good spot on the floor for the Tigers, just out of the reach of the diving Tiago Carvalho. That return from Milford had Taunton off balance, but they were able to save it and send it back over in a vacant spot on the Milford side of the floor. Now Carvalho absorbs that serve. Now it's Zach Brown from the left side, but he sends it beyond the back line. We mentioned Boaventura, the kills leader, 167 kills during the 2018 regular season. Josh Orellana was second on the team with 133, and then Zach Brown with 122 kills. So certainly satisfying for head coach Andrew Mainini to know he has his top 3 kills leaders from last season back in the fold again here in 2019. Taunton narrowing the gap again. It's back down to a 1-point differential, and the flip shot attempt for Orellana, that was read well, and I believe that was number 15 in the front row, Tyler Stewart, the sophomore, providing that height advantage. It is mostly an upperclassman squad for Taunton, but they do have a couple of sophomores. Here's Brown readjusting to that setup. Now that ball tapped back to the Taunton side, and after a brief disagreement, the officials settle on awarding the point on the Taunton side, so that evens it up, or I beg your pardon, now gives Taunton a 10-9 lead, as now the scoreboard gets updated. And the service game will continue now for Jason Kang, the senior for Taunton. Here's Brown again, gets the ricochet off the front row, but Taunton saves it. And now Orellana trying for the spike. Taunton again returns. Here's Carvalho up to play it. Now Orellana smoothly across court, but a little bit too strong. And so starting to see momentum swinging back and forth here throughout this first set. Taunton able to take an early lead, then Milford storming into a 4-point advantage, but now Taunton back on top by a couple. 11-9 the score still in the first set. Kang with the serve, met by the libero for Milford. Now a little miscommunication, and that will be to Milford's advantage. A couple of players caught looking at one another. Eventually, it was Mateo Hagemeyer who reacted for Taunton, but too late. And 11-10 now, Milford with a 1-point deficit. And Nathan LeBlanc, the senior, will serve. LeBlanc with a high arcing serve. Now set up across the middle for the sophomore and rejected up front by the Scarlet Hawks. Now Boaventura, the high setup. Here's Brown with the smash. Diving play to keep it alive. Bodies flying on the Taunton side. They flip it back over, and Milford will reset. Again for Brown on the left, and this time he gets the kill. Good resiliency on the Taunton side, but eventually Milford wins it. A couple of great smashes from Zach Brown, and eventually rewarded with the kill. 11-all as we get deeper into this first set action. Now from the Taunton left side, they get the kill from the senior captain, Gage Kingman. Captains on the Taunton side, Kingman along with Alex Tavares, Chris LaCourse, and Jason Kang. Now the Taunton serve met by Boaventura. Brown again, the hard attacking shot. Now that one drifting over the front line. Milford readjusts. Brown back at it, rejected again. And now they'll set it up over the middle for Boaventura. And the point goes to the Scarlet Hawks. This has been evenly matched here in the early going. Taunton last year really cruised their way through a lot of their playoff run. They were the #1 seed in the Division I South playoffs as that ball drifts off the hands of Tyler Stewart and ends up as a point for the Scarlet Hawks. After sewing up that #1 seed, Taunton sweeping Brookline and Newton South, found themselves in the district finals in a matchup with the #2 seed in their bracket, Needham, but that was where the road ended for Taunton as they were stunned with a 3-set sweep at the hands of the Tigers. Meanwhile, Milford, incredible reaction time. Does that ball stay in? Not according to the official up top. What reflexes, one-handed saves all over the floor for the Scarlet Hawks. And 13-all now. And I said it off the top. It was only going to be a matter of time before two schools with the talent that these ones possess settle in, and we have started to see some top-notch mid-season volleyball here in game 1 of the season. That ball just barely deflects over the net and then rejected up front. Clayton Pickett getting into the action for the Scarlet Hawks. It gives Milford a 14-13 lead. And we go back to Zach Brown behind the service line. Hard line drive, and No time to react. The held ball for the Tigers. Coaching staff putting up some mild arguments, but that was clearly held by Liam Bunker on the left side. Still a little discussion on the sidelines amongst the coaching staff, but the point goes to Milford, 15-13. Brown, a softer serve this time. And this time playable on the left side, but a misfire from Bunker. And back up to a 3-point Milford lead. And Brown sending that serve out on the near side. We'll see a quick substitution now as Brown will take a quick rest on the bench, replaced by Randy Monahan. We'll get back to that soccer point in just a moment. First, the serve out of the hand of Tyler Stewart. Hard deflection up front off the shot by Boaventura. Now across the middle, and the spike from number 29, Alex Tavares, one of the senior captains. And immediately back down to a 1-point game. And the fans ready to settle in for what looks like is going to be a very back and forth match. Milford trying to save that after it went awkwardly off the hands of Carvalho. They are able to return it over. Now the hard attacking shot is met up front. Teaming up for the block was Pickett and Philadelphia. And a 17-15 Scarlet Hawks lead, but just quickly to wrap up that point, boys soccer featured virtually this entire boys volleyball roster this past fall. And of course, it was quite a memorable run for that Scarlet Hawks boys soccer team under the direction of Brian Edwards. That team losing, I believe, just one match in the regular season, claimed a high seed in the playoffs, defeated Bishop Feion in their opening round matchup, looked to be poised to go deep. But they ended up getting stunned in the quarterfinal round by an upstart Walpole team in a 1-0 final score. But it was a phenomenal run, and this team really showed great athleticism, great energy, good confidence, team unity. Those were all things that served them very well on the soccer field. And I know the players and Coach Mainini are all hoping that that translates onto the volleyball court as well, and looking to perhaps finish some unfinished business from the soccer season. A lot of those players expecting to go further in the playoffs than they did. Again, it was a very surprising exit in that quarterfinal round. So looking to avenge that early exit with a long run in the playoffs in this volleyball season. But of course, just getting started. Game number 1 of the season in progress, as Milford has now taken a 20-15 lead here in set number 1. We'll have the conclusion of this first set when we come back right out of this timeout. Stay tuned to coverage of Milford High School athletics right here on Milford TV. Getting set to return out of the timeout, a 20-15 lead for Milford over Taunton here in set number 1. And we would certainly be remiss if we did not acknowledge what was just a terrible tragedy in Milford a couple of weeks ago, the tragic loss of Milford volleyball legend Linda Zakili, who lost her battle with cancer, a decade-long battle with cancer, back just a couple of weeks ago. And we know that that is a story that still weighs very heavily on the minds of these Milford players, the coaches, a lot of the athletic community here in Milford and really across the state. Linda touched a lot of lives, generations of Milford student athletes. A lot of people looking back longingly on the days of working with Linda, either as a teacher or a coach. A pioneer of the volleyball programs, both the boys and girls programs here in Milford. A lot of the success that the programs have enjoyed over the years had Linda's handprints all over it. And so a terrible loss for the sports community, a terrible loss for Milford High School and the Milford community in general. So we certainly want to express our heartfelt thoughts and sympathies to the Zakili family, all of the friends that knew Linda, that were close to Linda over the years. And it certainly felt by us at Milford TV as well. We had a chance to get to know Linda quite well over the years in our sports coverage, and was a tremendous friend to our coverage. And certainly taught me a lot about volleyball as well. So Linda will be in our thoughts all season long, as she will be in the thoughts of all of these Milford players and coaches as well. So again, we want to acknowledge the passing of Milford sports legend Linda Zakili, someone who will never be forgotten by this Milford community. We play on here in the Milford Gymnasium, 22-16 the score. Milford still out in front. Lucas Caetano back on serve for Milford. Settled the team into an excellent groove earlier in the set. But Taunton winning that point to stay close. Milford 3 points away from an opening set victory. But the Tigers will go back on serve. And trying to get their personnel settled before we see who steps behind the service line for the visitors. And it looks like it will be number 10 off the bench. Listed on our roster as Jaime. A high looping serve met by Tiago Carvalho, and Milford perhaps trying to get a little bit too fancy up front with the move from Gabe Brandow, trying to switch hands at the last minute and ended up losing the timing. And that inches Taunton a little bit closer at 23-18. Jaime will continue on the serve right after a bit of business at the scorer's table. A lot of moving parts here on the first day of the season. A good crowd here in the Milford gym for this first game of the year, and we've spotted a lot of the girls volleyball players from the fall season out here in support of the boys team. A lot of those players in the stands, a couple of them helping out at the scorer's table. And good awareness by the Scarlet Hawks. Monahan pulling those hands in, seeing that ball heading out of bounds, and the result now Milford 2 points away from an opening set win, and they will send Joao Boaventura back behind the line. And that serve hugging the near sideline, staying in, and now returned over. Did it stay in play? It did not. It goes wide to the near side, and Milford now with set point. And the ball right back in the hands of Boaventura, looking to close it out and get this season started strong for the Hawks. The serve away. And they'll send it over the middle. A soft shot handled by Carvalho. Now for Brown, the cross-court return. And now the deep return from the libero met by his counterpart Carvalho. Now Brown again sends it off the hands. And a desperation save in front of the Taunton bench, but it is for naught as the ball is returned wide. And this first set goes to the Scarlet Hawks 25-18. And so Milford, after getting swept in 3 sets in both meetings against the Tigers last year, they're able to claim an opening set victory to give themselves an early advantage here in this match. We will pause as the teams switch sides, and we'll be back with set number 2 right after this here on Milford TV. Welcome back in as we begin second set action here between the Milford Scarlet Hawks and the Taunton Tigers. And Zach Brown looking to pick up, or excuse me, I beg your pardon, Clayton Pickett looking to pick up where the Hawks left off in the first set. Boaventura, a dive to keep that ball alive. That will drift all the way back over the net, and Taunton ends up delivering it into the net. And more athletic play on the side of the Scarlet Hawks yields the first point in set number 2. And you have to imagine that that's a huge confidence boost for an already confident Milford team to claim that opening set against a team that has had their number in past seasons. And Taunton still with a lot of experience, a lot of seniors on this roster. So a lot of holdovers from that run to the district finals a season ago. Milford with a lot of personnel remaining from their run to the semifinals a year ago. And now ready to continue. It's Josh Orellana on the serve for the Hawks. And that one sent directly down in front of the Tigers by Pickett. Clayton Pickett starting to exert his presence in this match. Had a couple of big kills late in the first. And active here early on in the second. High setup by Orellana, but then the blast right into the net. And of course, Orellana, we cannot speak enough of the work as the goalkeeper for the boys soccer team from Josh Orellana this past fall. Some incredible saves, an outstanding save percentage all season long among the elite keepers in the Hawk. And taking his talents now once again here on the volleyball court. We did have a chance to cover quite a bit of boys volleyball action last season, but getting our coverage started early here in 2019. Now the setup for Philadelphia on the left is blocked, but Milford recovers. Then it's pushed over by Pickett. Now across the middle, the hard smash returned right back over, and it hugs the line on the far side. Not a lot of reaction time for some of these smash shots from both of these teams, but Milford has been able to get it done. Up 3-2 here early in the second set after claiming a 25-18 win in the first set. And Brown delivers that serve out on the near side. And the serve now goes on the Taunton side to Jason Kang, who was one of their most reliable servers in that first set. Really the best run for Taunton of that set came with Kang on serve. Just one and done this time around, and now it will be Tiago Carvalho taking over on the Milford side. And awkwardly off the hands of Gage Kingman. And right back behind the line goes Tiago Carvalho. And that ball in, and that'll be an ace for Carvalho. Josh Orellana ended up leading the team in aces last season with 51. Tiago Carvalho with 29 aces over the course of the 2018 regular season. And now the hard smash by Tiago Philadelphia, but not quite enough elevation. Joao Boaventura was second on the team in aces last year with 38. So quite a threat and an interesting change of roles for Joao Boaventura from soccer to volleyball. And talking to Coach Edwards throughout the soccer season, saying all the time about Boaventura that a lot of what he does is not going to show up on the score sheet. He's not one that's going to be getting goals or assists, but the work that he does out there is instrumental to our success. And you could really see the hard work grinding game in and game out for Joao Boaventura over the middle. But a different story here on the volleyball court, as he is very much the engine that drives this Scarlet Hawks offense. And right on cue, Boaventura with the kill. And that gives Milford the lead again now at 7-6. Back now to Lucas Caetano. Caetano with a sinking liner and a diving attempt by Kang, but that one drifts out of play. Unreturnable, the serve for Caetano. You have to imagine Coach Mainini is pretty satisfied with what he has seen out of his team so far. Very hectic start to the season, but everything settling in now as these teams get their first regular season action in. Boaventura with an absolute rocket. A 9-6 lead now for Milford. And of course, just getting started in the spring sports season. A lot to jam in over the next 2 months. Of course, as we always say, the spring sports season is without a doubt the fastest regular season of them all. But we hope to get a good deal of action here in the Milford Gym for boys volleyball, and we'll also eventually get outside for coverage of softball and baseball. The Scarlet Hawks baseball team looking to build off of a season last year where a lot of new faces had a chance to get some varsity action and experience under their belts. Hoping to take that step forward this season, and of course, some big shoes to fill on that baseball team, losing the incredible leadership and talent of Aiden Wild, who graduated in the spring of 2018. That ball off the hands of the back row of Taunton, and another point for Milford as they now assume a 6-point lead, 12-6. And this is going to force a timeout. So we'll have baseball covered for you, softball as well. And of course, it should be an interesting season for Milford softball after a dominant couple of seasons, including a 2017 state championship. A brand new look to that softball team coming up this spring after graduating 10 players from the roster last season. So a lot of opportunities to be had for a young and hungry Milford softball group looking to usher in a new chapter in a very storied program with Scarlet Hawks softball. So we look forward to bringing that action to you as the spring goes along. A timeout here on the floor in this second set of boys volleyball. Milford up a set, and they're up in set number 2, 12-6 here on Milford TV. Milford serve out of the timeout. Caetano continuing to excel behind the service line for the Scarlet Hawks. And there, once again, the serve deflects off of the Taunton back row. The Tigers looking to make adjustments. (13-6) now the lead for Milford. A lot of active coaching from the sidelines for the Tigers right now. Caetano's serve away. And the setup on the left side. Carvalho pushes it back to the front and set up for Josh Orellana, who gets the smash beyond the reach of the front row. The kill for Orellana, and Milford starting to give themselves some breathing room here in the second set, now up 14-6. Now a couple of players going after that ball. The communication still being worked out on the Taunton side, as Kang and Kingman both went after it, a couple of seniors. And Milford now with a 9-point advantage. Of course, we do want to welcome in any viewers who are tuned into us live. Once again, we have live streaming coverage of Scarlet Hawks athletics, courtesy of Livestream. You can watch any of our live streaming coverage anytime by going to milfordtv.net. You can also download the Livestream app on your mobile device. And once you log on to Livestream, just search Milford TV Educational, and you'll have access to all of our Scarlet Hawks athletics live streaming coverage. We always send out a live coverage alert on Twitter, so you also want to follow us at Milford_TV for any live coverage updates. So if you are tuned into us live, welcome in to our debut of this 2019 spring season. And if you are tuned into us live, we encourage you to check out some additional coverage of this boys volleyball team coming up tomorrow night on the Milford Informer at 7:30. We will have an official spring sports preview where we go behind the scenes. We talk to all 3 captains of this boys volleyball team and also the head coach, Andrew Mainini. And so that's coming up on the Milford Informer on Friday night at 7:30. New episodes of the Informer air every Friday night at 7:30 on Milford TV. 16-8. Milford still in front. The serve right now on the Taunton side. Tyler Stewart, the sophomore, sends it away. Caetano now sets it up for Brown, smokes it past the front row, and now the dive across the middle for Alex Tavares, but you can see right now a lot of frustration starting to show through out on the floor for the Tigers. Milford once again with a 9-point advantage as they will sub in the senior Nathan LeBlanc here, and he will take over on serve. And that one off the hands of Mateo Hagemeyer. And the double hit sends Milford into an 18-8 lead, and this second set is quickly falling out of reach for the Tigers, and you can see right now Tavares out there for Taunton trying to rally the troops. Now the hard smash, and it gets a piece of the Milford front row and out, so a point there for the Tigers to try to build on. Milford 6 points away. I beg your pardon, 7 points away from taking a commanding 2-0 lead. Taunton trying to hang in there as now they send Gage Kingman behind the service line. But his serve does not clear the net. And so now 6 points away from a set victory. It's back to Orellana. Right to the back row, Kang able to dig it out. Now pushed over with two hands by Taunton. And Milford trying for the trick play there as a couple of players went up for it. It was Philadelphia with the return shot, but it goes beyond the back line, and it's 19-10 now. The lead for Milford, and the serve now about to be delivered by Chris LaCourse. And no trickery that time, just a hard smash by Pickett. Returned over. Carvalho going a long way. Now the attempt for Zach Brown, but couldn't get enough height on it to clear the net. And so Taunton now trying to rally. Bit of a collision on the back line for Milford, but they're able to keep it together, and then the spike straight down over the net for the Scarlet Hawks. The serve coming up from Zach Brown. Sky-high setup for the Scarlet Hawks. Ends up coming back down on the Milford side, and ultimately the point going to the Tigers, trying to keep it close. Still an 8-point differential. Now Kang, that serve just barely skimming over the net, and now returned hard, straight over the net. Good awareness on both sides. Now Orellana will set it up for Boaventura, but that ball drifted on Boaventura as he was in midair. He tried to recover, but could not. So 20-13 now. And now they'll call a double hit on Milford. So all of a sudden now, things starting to slowly move their way into Taunton's direction. They've cut it back down now to a 6-point margin, so Milford looking to close it out, but the Tigers not making it easy. Milford getting the point that time. And now Carvalho will serve. A hard smash in front by Taunton, rejected by Milford. And Taunton cannot return it. 22-14. Milford starting to regroup. Now from the left side, again, Milford teaming up for the block, but that ball dropping down just out of bounds. So credit the Tigers. After falling into a big hole in this set, they refused to give in. Good leadership, especially shown by Tavares. Alex Tavares on the Taunton side to keep his team in it. And the violation on the Taunton side will give Milford a 23-15 lead, and now it's just 2 points away from a 2-0 lead for the Scarlet Hawks. It will be Lucas Caetano once again taking over on serve. He's been good all day. Now dug out nicely by Taunton. Now it'll drift over to the left side, returned over. Now the hard shot by Boaventura. Did that stay in? Wide to the far sideline. Getting the call from up top. Boaventura's been a little quieter in this second set, but still a force. That time sending that one just long on the far side. A high drifting serve met on the back line by Milford. Here's a chance now for Josh Orellana, but a little too much on that cross-court shot as well, and starting to get close once again. Back down to a 6-point margin. Milford still 2 points away. Now that ball swatted to the back line. Now Orellana takes something off it, and that changeup works to perfection. Taunton trying to dive to save it, but out of the reach of Hagemeyer, and now set point once again for the Scarlet Hawks, up 24-17. And here is Boaventura hoping to close it out. The serve away. Pushed back over softly by Taunton. Now eventually set up for Josh Orellana, but again, Orellana looking to find that right stroke. He's been a little bit too strong on a lot of these return shots so far, looking to find his form. And it gives the Tigers another chance as they send their tall sophomore Tyler Stewart behind the line. Drifts it over in the neighborhood of Zach Brown, who now sends it back over, rifles the shot all the way to the scorer's table, and Taunton just cannot react to it. And Zach Brown deals the final blow in this second set, which Milford takes by an identical margin as set number one, 25-18 once again. And so the Hawks do indeed take a commanding 2-0 lead in this opening match of the 2019 regular season. Once again, a quick timeout, and then we will have set number 3 when we return next on this coverage of Milford High School boys volleyball on Milford TV. We thank you so much for joining us on our first coverage of this 2019 spring sports season for Scarlet Hawks Athletics. This is Tim Coet with you on the call as we begin the spring season in the Milford gym with coverage of the Scarlet Hawks boys volleyball team. It's been a very good start to this match. Milford leading the Taunton Tigers 2-0 and claiming the first point of this third set. Milford with an opportunity now perhaps to earn a sweep, which would be sweet revenge for the Scarlet Hawks after losing a couple of three-setters against this Taunton team last season. But just having a chance to talk very briefly with Jeremy Folster, who has taken the reins of the JV program for Milford boys volleyball this season. He did mention that Taunton has experienced a lot of turnover in their starting lineup. So while they do have a lot of seniors and upperclassmen on this roster, they returned just one starter from last season. So a lot of these players getting their first taste of starting action on a varsity team. And Milford, meanwhile, with experience at virtually every position on the floor at any time. That has played into their favor so far in this match. A 2-1 lead here in the very early stages of this third set. Little good luck on the serve for Milford senior Randy Monahan, but then some uncharacteristic lack of communication up front. You can see all smiles from Tiago Carvalho after, a little frustrated with himself there. Communication overall has been good on the floor for Milford throughout this match so far. And meanwhile, Jason Kang cannot clear the net with the serve, so it goes right back to the Scarlet Hawks, up 3-2. Once again, we encourage you to stay close to our social media, in particular our Twitter feed at Milford_TV throughout the spring sports season to find out when we will be going live with streaming coverage. If you happen to be tuned into this game after the fact, either on Milford TV or checking us out on YouTube, you have the opportunity to stream a lot of our games live. We send out that live coverage alert, and when we do, make sure you tune in either on milfordtv.net or on the live stream app. Taunton taking the lead back now in this third set, 4-3. So that ball is dug out by Monahan. Delivered back over, now set up over the middle for Taunton. And now for Boaventura, gets it over the front line, but Taunton able to recover. That ball swatted back over. Milford trying to keep it alive, and eventually the point goes to Milford. The fans love it. The violation on the Taunton side leaves the coaching staff again shaking their head. And judging by the body language, it looked like the Taunton coach was maybe hoping to see a held ball called on the Milford side on that desperation backward swat up front. I believe that was Philadelphia who was able to keep the ball alive with that move. But tied up at 4. Nice dig for Carvalho. Now Boaventura with the hard smash off the front line. And a double hit for Taunton. Caetano's serve to the back, and that one just a little bit long. Good awareness by Kang. And the head coach for Taunton boys volleyball is Toby Chaperon. He's been active throughout the game on the sidelines, again with the lineup that is trying to gain some quick varsity experience. Well-placed ball for Milford, hugging inside that far sideline. It's been even play here early on in the third set. Milford back on top now by a point. Now Boaventura will serve and just could not clear the top of the net. Of course, opening day of the spring sports season here in Milford today. It's also opening day for Major League Baseball. The Red Sox will get their season started out in Seattle just a few minutes from now, as a matter of fact. Zach Brown keeping that ball alive, going out on the far side. Now flicked over, diving play by Caetano. Now Orellana slaps it back over. Hard shot over the middle from Taunton, but too much on it. Goes beyond the back line, and one of the longer rallies of this game ends with a Milford point. Out on serve now, Nathan LeBlanc. He's been a bit of a serve specialist in the game here today. Now the flick over by Taunton. Milford is able to catch up to it, and now that ball grabbing a piece of the antenna on the way over from Zach Brown, and tied up at 7. So a little bit more similar to the style that we saw in the first set. Was very close through the early points. Milford eventually able to pull away a bit later in the set. Second set was controlled by Milford most of the way. Taunton made it close a couple of times towards the end, but really couldn't overcome what at times was a 9 or 10 point deficit midway through that set. Tied up once again at 8 as the serve will go to Taunton's Chris LaCourse. The senior captain blasts it over. That stays in. And one-handed over by Zach Brown. Now here's Brown again. Back to Kang. Swats it over. Set up over the middle. Nobody home. And looking like perhaps Clayton Pickett got a little lost in that rotation. And the team talking about it afterwards. An easy point in the end for Taunton. Now a hard smash. Returned well wide by Charlie Vo. Charlie Vo ended up seeing some critical playing time in Milford's final game of the season last year in the district semifinals against Natick. There was an injury partway through that match, and I do not recall who the injury was to, but it resulted in Charlie Vo getting pressed into service and ended up going on quite a run behind the service line. Played a key role as Milford tried to battle through that tough matchup with the Natick Redhawks. Certainly earned a lot of respect from his teammates and a lot of admiration from the fans with his play. Out there now here in set number 3. Charlie Vo all smiles out there in the front row for Milford. The Hawks up by a point as the serve drifts over from Randy Monahan. And off the hands of Nathan LeBlanc, that ball perhaps would have gone out, and you can see LeBlanc communicating that to his teammates. And tied up once again, now 10 apiece. That one clipping the tape, goes over, and Milford caught out of position. Charlie Vo could not get there. 11-10 lead for the Tigers. Clean setup for Boaventura, and no chance on the Taunton side. A laser over the net for Joao Boaventura. He gets another kill and ties it up at 11 here in the third set. Cannot leave that much space in the middle of the floor for Boaventura. Now Carvalho, a clean serve. And a hard return by Tyler Stewart. Milford trying for the block, but it came down out of bounds on the Taunton side. Taunton refusing to allow Milford to develop any momentum in this third set. Keeping it close, we've seen a 1-point lead swing back and forth. As that time Kang couldn't find the distance on the serve, dropped that into the net on his own side, and so we're tied up once again at 12. Charlie Vo back to the bench, Lucas Caetano behind the service line. Milford up 2-0, and an even score here in the third set as that ball drifts just beyond the reach of Travis Nunes, the sophomore for Taunton. And so the lead swings back into the favor of the Scarlet Hawks as Caetano, who, as we've talked about frequently, has been, I would argue, the best server on either side of the floor today. Here's Boaventura, he gets blocked. Now Orellana had the front row off balance, but Taunton still able to return it. That one punched up in the air. Milford able to get it back over. The rally continues. Now the hard shot from the left side absorbed in the back row and then swatted down by Tyler Stewart. Again, using that good height to his advantage in an extended rally. Some of the best play of the match on both sides, but it ends in a hard-earned point for the Tigers to tie things back up in the third set here at 13. Serve now to Randy Monahan. I beg your pardon, serve on the Taunton side by Jaime. And that's going to force the first timeout of the match from head coach Andrew Mainini. It has been cruise control through large portions of this match, but Taunton really pushing Milford here in the third. They take a 14-13 lead, and so the timeout on the Milford side. We will take the timeout as well. Again, Milford up 2-0, but it's Taunton with the 14-13 lead here in set 3 on Milford TV. Taunton continues the serve out of the timeout. Dig by Tiago Carvalho, and eventually a winner for Milford. Able to even it back up at 14. Coach Mainini feeling like momentum was going in the wrong direction. Called that timeout, trying to settle things down. And now Milford back on serve with Boaventura. And pushed over off balance by Zach Brown. And Milford ends up getting the point. I beg your pardon, changing the call, the two officials getting together, Taunton getting the point, going up 15-14. Stewart looked like he got a little hung up with his mechanics on that serve, but was still able to get it over. But now, miscommunication on the front row. Knotted up at 15. Soft shot over the middle. Caetano was able to dive for it. Good reaction from the front row again. Now over from Clayton Pickett. And rejected up front. Pickett and Brown team up for the block. These teams will meet again later in the regular season. They will meet on May 17th in Taunton, and you have to imagine that it will be a different looking matchup than regardless of the ultimate outcome here tonight. You have to imagine Taunton, after gaining some experience under their belts throughout this regular season, will be a different looking opponent by the time we get into the month of May. But giving Milford their toughest effort so far Taunton with a lead, getting deeper into this third set. And really challenging on this rally. Milford with some great effort. The dive for Pickett up front, able to win it back over, but Taunton too good. The return out of the reach of, I believe it was Nathan LeBlanc. And now a 2-point deficit. Right now, Tiago Carvalho getting a rest on the sidelines. We'll see another personnel shift as Caetano comes out, Charlie Vo back in. Still just a 1-point differential here in the third set. As we'll now see Orellana on serve. A really nice job by Gage Kingman to make that playable. And they will award that point to Taunton. A hard smash up front, but the violation at net committed by Clayton Pickett. And he talks it over with the coaching staff after. And that gives Taunton now a 2-point advantage at 18-16. Taunton hoping to extend this match to a fourth set. And again, players collide on the back row for Milford. Vo up front, losing the height battle, but fortunately that one placed well. The timing off for the Taunton front row. And Milford now able to pull it back to an 18-17 margin. Zach Brown to the sideline. Monahan back out onto the floor to take over serve. And Coach Mainini now getting a little bit more animated on the sidelines. Trying to keep his team on track here in the third set. Here's Orellana absorbing the return. Now Boaventura just able to keep that ball in play. Had to reach for it. Now that ball getting past the front row, backed up. Now Boaventura, cross-court shot. Now from the left side for Taunton, but way too much on it. Off the hand of Dolan Campbell. And Milford able to knot it back up now at 18. But some longer rallies here throughout a lot of this third set. Line drive skimming over the net. And then the hard shot from the right side for Taunton, but blocked up front. Good defensive work at the net for the Scarlet Hawks. But it does end up in a point for the Tigers. My apologies. But not this time. Another laser beam off the hand of Boaventura. We've seen that a number of times. Gets the kill, and now even at 19. Back out on the floor, Tiago Carvalho to serve. And Boaventura with an easy spike. And that puts the Hawks in front 20-19, so all of a sudden now the Scarlet Hawks 5 points away from a set victory. Carvalho trying to put Milford on one last run. And Milford calling for that ball to be out. But they do not ultimately get the call from the officials. They award the point on the Taunton side, and so now it is a race to 25. (20-20) as that ball came awkwardly off the hands of Monahan, but Milford recovers. Across the middle. Now the setup and the flick shot over by Boaventura, who now directs traffic as the ball comes back. And Tiago Philadelphia finishes it with the kill. Milford now 4 points away as Caetano returns to the floor, takes over for Charlie Vo, and a good spot here for Caetano. Milford needing 4 points to claim a victory in the set and the match. And that ball not making it back over the net. Taunton front row expecting that one to drift over. It did not. And a 22-20 Milford lead. And a timeout will be taken by the Taunton Tigers as they try to recover. They've done a lot of good work in this third set, but Milford has taken the lead at 22-20. They need just 3 more points to claim a victory here in their 2019 season opener. A timeout taken, and we'll be back with more of this third set in just a moment here on Milford TV. Down to the final points of this third set. It's been a gritty performance in the set for the Tigers, but Milford is now up 22-20. The service game continuing for Lucas Caetano, and that one not returnable, and Taunton almost sending the official to a long tumble down to the court, but fortunately able to recover up on the ladder by the net. 23-20 now the lead for Milford. Caetano right back to business. To the back row for Kang. Now over to the Milford side. Pushed back towards the left side for Taunton. Now the setup across for Boaventura, who was able to get Liam Bunker to leave his feet, and at that point changed up the speed and dropped it down onto the Taunton side. And Milford now with match point up 24-20. And it looks like we will see another timeout taken for the Taunton Tigers. And so just taking a quick look at the schedule moving forward for the Scarlet Hawks team, really getting into the thick of the season right away. After this game here tonight, they will have a very quick turnaround as they will be right back here in their home gym tomorrow for a matchup against one of their new Tri-Valley League conference opponents, Millis High School. Then a couple of days off after that before they will head out on the road for the first time, taking on Medfield. And then their next home game after that, April 4th, as they will come home to take on the Nipmuc Warriors, also part of the Tri-Valley League. So starting to get used to some new rivalries, and I believe some of these rivalries now in the Tri-Valley League were also part of the Western Alliance last season, so some familiarity there as well. But some business still to attend to here in the Milford gym tonight, as again the Scarlet Hawks have match point with Lucas Caetano on serve. That serve away, drops down right into the middle of the floor, out of the reach of Jason Kang. And that will be the night here in the Milford gym. Again, a tough battle here in the third set. Credit to Taunton. You could see the improvement here within the game, but Milford, too much for the Tigers to handle here today as the Scarlet Hawks open their 2019 season with a 3-set sweep over the Taunton Tigers. So with the win, Milford improves to 1-0 here on the young season. Taunton with the loss starts off their 2019 year at 0-1. So that will wrap up our coverage here tonight. A big thank you to our Milford TV crew on hand for the game, our camera operator Scott Crisafulli, our director for the game Liz Harkins, and our statistician Derek Birchtold. And I am Tim Coet. That final score, one final time, it was Milford with a 3-set sweep victory over the Taunton Tigers. This has been a presentation of Milford High School Athletics here on Milford TV. So long, everybody.